I'm asking you a serious question. I don't know One for All at all. I don't know the history of it. I don't know what's going on with One for All.
Mark!
What? Man, give me a second.
No, Mark, you gotta hear this. Mark!
No.
Stop that door to me, Mark. Get over
I
here.
need to know the history of One for All before I can
Mark.
make this theory. No, is it Henry and what?
All the anime has the history out.
Are you serious?
Yes!
Oh my god! Roy, you failed. All the anime has a video out to explain the history. I'm going to that.
Hey guys, it's Briggs here, and like always, welcome to All Day Anime, and today I will be explaining One for All, the transferable quirk that is currently possessed by our main protagonist Izuku Midoriya, and was passed down to him from the #1 ranked hero, All Might. Before we begin, I do want to give a spoiler warning, as I will be discussing topics that haven't been covered in the anime. I did try to make this video as spoiler free as possible, however given the topic, not discussing spoilers is kind of impossible.
And when he says spoilers, he really does mean spoilers, because he's a little bit further with the manga version than I am, and I'm just watching the animated version because I haven't decided to actually read the books. Haven't decided to read the manga in the end, and that kind of cripples me a little bit on the theory type situation, but at the same point in time, I'm not too worried about it in the end, because it's just fun to watch and have fun watching this stuff. So, my theories usually come at a price. I don't know all the logic. Yeah. And as something you guys do know, I was actually going to have a video up about a little bit after my Deku video, and it was literally going to be about One for All. Then I saw One for All come out on Briggs' channel, and all of a sudden I had to change things, because the inaccuracies of my theory were gone. I knew they were gone after that point, because because when you watch this video, it tells you a lot. And if you don't want a spoiler about the whole thing, because it's going to tell you later on in the anime anyways, about One for All, then you probably should not watch it. But you should, because it is a great episode too. Very knowledgeable and stuff like that. Anyways, let's get into this theory, shall we?
And Brother B. Brother A possessed a quirk known as All for One. Not One for All, the current quirk that Midoriya has, but rather an entirely different quirk known as All for One. Now All for One is a quirk that allows its user to steal the quirks of others for themselves, and they can also give said stolen quirks to other people. Now Brother B was believed to be quirkless, just like young Midoriya. So Brother A granted him a quirk that he stole that allows the user to stockpile power. However, Brother B actually did have a quirk. Though it was innate and had no effect, it just allowed him to transfer his quirk to another. The combination of these two quirks is how One for All was born. The little brother's quirk that could pass itself on, and the quirk given to him by his older brother that stockpiles power, merged and became One for All. Thus, the little brother became the first user of One for All. Now, Brother B attempted to defeat a certain main villain that I will not name, and was defeated, so he decided to pass on his quirk so that maybe the next user can defeat said villain.
Anyways, in this part of the video, he explains a little bit about the history of One for All and All for One with the two brothers, and you should be able to hear that just from what I put there. And it's a really interesting story, and a certain main villain that obviously he's not going to speak of right now, which is actually part of my theory in the first place. And that just kind of validated what I was about to do with my theory. So I was just like, oh, well, I get validated a little bit with this video. With the whole thing that ends up, my whole theory that ends up happening is the same thing that happened with Brother A and Brother B. The All for One stealing quirks and B being able to give the quirk away. Well, now, it's an innate quirk. And that's the type of quirk I was saying that Deku had in the first place, before he got One for All. And it's an innate quirk that can be passed down to generations. The reason to pass it down is to make sure that a certain evil villain doesn't come and do stupid things. Yeah, it's a convoluted storyline. So, my whole theory was about an opposite to One for All. And this obviously is an opposite to One for All, because Brother B had One for All, Brother A had All for One, and All for One was the opposite of One for All. Except the only difference between these two quirks is one can steal the quirks, and then give those quirks to other people. Now, I don't know if that's technically derives to All for One being able to be given to somebody else when he wants it to be given to somebody else. Because obviously Briggs says stolen quirks are the ones that he can pass through. So either he can just pass stolen quirks for a cap, or he can pass on his own ability as well. And this makes that ability very OP type of situation, to be able to just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Oh, sorry, I guess it's not a copy, paste, it's cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. And if anybody knows the difference between cut, paste, and copy, paste, you should know deleting the file and adding it onto you without, yeah. But yes, so my theory was literally the kind of that similar way, where the brother gets kind of jealous because he realizes what he just gave over or something like that, and then they drift apart and he becomes a villain, because that would be a great equal and opposite reaction. But there's obviously a main protagonist and a main villain. Through B in the first place. So it could either be the brother that did this, or there is another type of quirk out there that kind of rivals One for All in the first place, where it's passing down the quirk that was obtained through a stolen quirk that All for One took to give to him. Now I know what some of you guys are thinking. Mark, you're a crackpot. You're thinking up these crackpot theories again. You're not even trying anymore. Do you think of anything good here? Of course I'm thinking of something good. I'm trying to give out a good theory based on some facts I learned from a video in the first place, where he's actually read the mangas and gone to that part of the storyline. There is a few other things, and let's get to that part of the video real quick.
Body. After One for All is transferred to the recipient, the previous One for All user can still use the leftover embers, thus can still access One for All's power. However, these leftover embers will not last forever, resulting in the previous user losing One for All completely. Using these last embers continuously will rapidly increase the loss of embers and the loss of One for All. So All Might can't just go all out for long periods of time, or else he will lose his power completely.
Alright, in this part, obviously, it's explaining exactly what happened, why everything's ending up doing what it does, and why One Might's losing his power and ability, because he's giving off the power. First, his body couldn't handle it, and now he just has given it away, so it's starting to deteriorate little by little. And seeing as that One for All is a pretty old move that has been passed down for generations, kind of goes to state that the villain that was originally in the first One for All type of situation should be gone. But that is only if the other one doesn't already have the same type of ability of All Might. So my main theory is that there is going to be an opposite to this, to One for All at some point in time. A villain that comes in and shows that he has the same type of ability or something like that. Because it normally happens every so often. Like, quirks usually are a unique thing in this world, but at the same point in time, there are quirks, and we see it in this whole sports festival thing, that there are quirks that are extremely similar. And whether they have a little bit of difference or not, there are quirks extremely similar to the other one, which means that there could be another user with the same type of quirk as All Might, and he could have been a villain. Or vice versa. It's like a situation here. What if Brother A got jealous of Brother B, and then all of a sudden Brother A becomes this huge villain and passes on his own power? Like, okay, while Brother B is trying to be the hero and still contains what he needs. So my theory is that there's another ability out there on the villain side that is being passed down from generation to generation as well. And the only reason I'm saying this, and I know you guys are going to be like, but Mark, it's not a comic book, it's not about comics, it's an anime, it's not comics, Mark, it's not comics. It's a superhero world. Literal superhero world. This is like X-Men's Xavier's Academy for mutants. Or even in, what was it? Star Industry in DC? I forget. It's something in DC, but I can't remember. I don't pay attention to DC as much as I do anything else. But it's still a superhero universe, and there's always a villain that takes place that has an opposite ability of the actual hero or stuff like that, and it gets shown a lot. I think the biggest point of this is that in most heroes make the villains in the first place. At least their arch nemesis villain. And so, even though Deku's going to have this villain sometime down the road that's going to be extremely strong, he's going to make a villain that is not them. He's going to make an actual arch nemesis villain. Because if you want to think about it with the hero complexities and stuff like that when it comes to comic books and stuff in superhero worlds, we get... Go with Spider-Man real quick. Spider-Man made the Green Goblin, who made Spider-Man, technically. And the big round circles there are the arch nemesis right there. And Green Goblin's son, well, I guess it depends on which one you do in this type of universe, because Green Goblin could either be Norman Osborn or Norman's son, and back and forth, like Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, and one of those two was Peter's best friend in the first place. We also get Superman, who was actually friends with Lex Luthor at some point in time, and who ends up becoming the villain to Superman because Superman created Lex Luthor. Or we get... I could name off a few, I just don't want to. Let's do Batman. We can do Batman, who was created from some arcs, the Joker, or some other mobster or Two-Face, to and Batman creating those guys. So there's always an equal and opposite reaction when it really comes down to vigilantes and villains. So the theory I'm trying to propose isn't too far off from normal comic book situations in the end. So if we really want to think about Deku making a villain, it's obviously going to be his bully. And at some point, his bully's going to become a villain and despise Deku, realizing he's not even going to catch up with Deku if he's on the same team as Deku. He needs to be more competitive, but he can't be competitive as a hero to him because Deku's so much stronger. So Deku's probably going to end up having him as an arch nemesis, because technically what ends up happening is he created him, and then Deku created him as a villain in the end, and blah blah blah, like All Might's ability, original characters B and A. What if Brother A created Brother B, and then Brother B did something to create Brother A to become a villain? I don't know if any of you guys are even understanding what I'm saying at this point, but there's always a circular reaction, and there's always going to be something. So my theory is that there's something, maybe Brother A or something, there's going to be a villain that is the exact opposite to One for All, which should be All for One, but according to Briggs's video, All for One, he can pass on stolen quirks. So I don't know if that actually helps to push on his quirk as well, not just stolen quirks or whatnot, because if he can pass on his own quirk, then he can just pass it down from generation to generation, which would make sense for him to be the villain in the end, passing his technique down from generation to generation after he has given a stolen quirk to All Might and one for all, and yeah, I know I'm going around in circles, but I'm just trying to add it up in my head real quick, just to make sure that I'm saying what I want to say right, because I know it's kind of weird to think about this stuff and what could cause something, an actual reaction, because Deku's obviously going to have an opposite villain. And I'm curious on who that opposite villain is. The opposite villain is not always the arch nemesis. It's like if we go with Superman, there's Bizarro Superman, the opposite of Superman, or Doom. Yeah. So they're not arch nemesis, but they are pretty powerful foes. and they are people that the hero has to fight every so often, unlike the arch nemesis, who they fight a lot. So what do you guys think of the theory, I guess? I guess I am going off of comic theory at this point and adding it to an anime, which is obviously based off of comic book heroes and stuff, but at the same point in time, it is an anime. They could mix it up a little bit. They could do something else, and it just makes me think, what's going on, what's happening, and I'm definitely want you guys to understand, I have not read the manga at all. The only information I got off this point is off the video I just had up on my earlier from Briggs himself. He did a really good informative video about One for All, and it just made my gears turn even more about the theory at my end, and made me start thinking about comic book heroes and actual hero comics and stuff like that. And I thought, hey, why not make it a theory? So, if you guys want to talk about this theory down in the comic section, I'll be there, obviously. I'll talk to you guys, and we'll get this theory slammed out and do something about it, because something needs to happen. We need a good theory on the evil villain who apparently probably has already shown up in the manga. And if you guys have read the manga, don't ruin it, please. But at the same point in time, I don't really care if you ruin it for me. Just don't ruin it for other people, okay? That's all I'm asking. Don't ruin it for other people. Anyways, you guys. I've been talking a lot, and this is probably going to be a long video, and a lot to edit. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. So until the next time, make sure you guys check out Briggs' video if you haven't yet, because I only showed bits and pieces of the video. So there's still a few parts in that video that you guys should be watching. You guys should see, and you guys should understand a little bit more, because it will literally give you a lot more information on One for All and the history of it. I didn't think it was really much of a spoiler, because he didn't really put much of a spoiler in there. He was just kind of talking about the quirk itself and its history. And yes, I understand, it could be a spoiler, but it's really... it's just an origin story of the move, I guess. About all it comes down to. But I keep rambling on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But seriously, check out Briggs' channel. Sub to him if you haven't yet. Like it and do whatever you want with me. I don't really care. Yeah. So until next time, you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. And if I don't as well. See, Rory? That's how you tell me what to do. Just like Pantyman did. That's what you have to do. You have to tell me that there's a video for the history so I can understand the history at least, okay? Okay, Roy? Okay? God. You're useless, Roy. You're useless. You're supposed to be able to bounce ideas off you. Pantyman's over here, the one saying stuff to me. Pantyman.